Hey there, I just wanted to pop on just for a few minutes and talk you through one of the things that I talked about in the last podcast episode. I talked about things that winners and champions do relatively consistently and they do well in order to help them to continue to win and reach their goals consistently. And one of those things was they evaluate. They evaluate past performances, they evaluate things that they have done. And since I was working on looking at my Q1, I thought I would pop on and just kind of walk through this with you relatively quickly, just to give you an example of what an evaluation process looks like. Because it doesn't have to take long, it doesn't have to weigh you down. Because I'm going to go through what went well. I'm also going to we're going to talk a little bit about what didn't go so well, and then what I can focus on and do differently. And I don't have to make the things that didn't go well, make them mean something negative about me. Of course, there's always going to be room for growth, but if I can look at it from an objective perspective and look at it and measure it against what I've set out for myself for this year, then it helps me to get into that space of, okay, now I know, and becoming more and more clear on what it is that I need to do. Okay, so let's just jump in. I'll walk this through with you quickly, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so my Q1 evaluation. What went well? Always start with what went well, because it opens up your brain to be a little bit creative, and it forces you to look for things that did go well, because typically we don't have problem looking for things that didn't go so well. So what went well? I gained some new clients, that's always a win. That's always a plus. And so the number of slots open for me have gone down. I do have more. And I also had a couple of renewals this quarter. So I had some clients that their 6 months was ending, and they have decided to continue on for another 6 months with me, which is always great. So one of the things I measure is my coaching mastery, and renewals are a part of that to help clients to continue on their journey. I got my podcast launched. So Change is Hard has launched, which is fantastic. And it's something I've been working on for a while, so I'm glad to get it out there. We'll talk about some other things in here in just a minute. I won another corporate contract, which was fantastic. It's not a huge part of my business, but I do look for, and clients will sometimes want me to come in and help the larger leadership group through training and coaching. So I'm going to go out, I'm going to do a leadership development program using one of the assessments that I have, and then we're going to work out a journey for some continued work with them. So I'm super excited about that. I'm happy about some of the investments that I made in myself and my business and my own personal coaching. So as a coach, it's very imperative for me to continue working on my mindset and working on what I'm doing. And there's the coach part of it, and then there's the business part of it, the business owner part of it. And so I recently just got back from a business conference, which was very, very helpful. But I'm glad that I decided to make those investments, because it can be challenging and hard to drop money, especially when you're thinking about, oh, I'm just investing in me. Well, for me, I am my ROI. So it is very important for me to do that. But for you as well, your brain, when you invest in yourself, the ROI from that, and how better you're going to be at what you're doing, how you're going to show up more confidently. So whatever it is where you might be stuck, investing in yourself to get those things going is going to help you to move faster. So that was something that I'm glad that I did, because the previous quarter I hadn't really done much of it. So I knew that it was something I needed to do. What went well this quarter is I was able to participate quite a bit in my kids' activities. So I was able to create a schedule where I could do things with them. I know I've talked about on the podcast, my daughter is into climbing. We've had several competitions that were not here, so we've done some traveling there. My son just got invited to the team, so we're going to be continuing that journey. But also a couple weeks ago, probably 2 or 3 weeks now, their high school orchestra was invited to perform at the National Orchestra Festival in Kentucky. And so I was able to go and spend that time with them, and it was a great experience for them, and I wanted to experience it with them. So I feel very fortunate that I'm able to do that. So that was fantastic. I did do some travel, so I haven't gotten back to travel kind of pre-COVID, but some travel is picking up for me, and I did some travel. And what was great about that, though, is I took the time to reconnect with some old colleagues. In the past, when I would travel, a lot of times it would just be about the business. I wouldn't necessarily go out and explore as much. So that was something a while ago I thought about, you know what, I need to start taking advantage a little bit more of when I'm out in different places. And so I did that this time, and I connected with an old colleague in New York. She took me on this path, this trail, the High Line. I'm sure if you've been to New York or if you are there, I've been there several times and I had never heard of the High Line. It is fantastic. It's so great, so fun. And it's something that I know for when my family goes back, I want to take my family back, and that's something that we're going to do. So thank you, Carol, for that. We had a blast. And then I was in San Francisco last week, or maybe it's been a couple weeks now. And I met up with an old colleague. And this is a colleague that we worked together like 25 years ago. And when you have those kinds of connections, it's not like we've stayed in touch the entire time, but just touch points here and there. But when you have connections like that with people, it's important to go back. And I reached out to him and said, hey, I'm going to be in town. He made the time for me. It was so great. It was so fun to catch up just on life and so many other things, filling in some of the gaps. And I really, really enjoyed that. So great seeing you, Mike. And then one of the other things that went well was I did try something new in my business. I offered some clients a renewal discount, something I've never done before. I don't know if I'll do it again. Tried it as an experiment. And then for where I am with my revenue goals for the year. So I have kind of two goals. I have what's called an under goal, and I created an under goal that said, hey, what is a goal that I know if I didn't change a whole lot of my business that I can hit? Like I just have no stress or no worry about reaching this revenue goal. So that is my under goal. And it's pretty much closely aligned to what I did last year, which, you know, if I didn't do anything else, I know that I can reach that goal. And then I have, probably some people might call it a stretch goal or an over goal. I just call it my main goal. But so for that, that is another goal that I have. But for my under goal, I am over what I needed to do for Q1, which is fantastic. And so I'm definitely on track there. And then I also had someone else reach out. So another company that does 360 assessments, they sometimes will look for coaches to come in and assess and help to fill the gap with coaching for their clients. I had an old colleague reach out, and I have another connection there, another contract there, which is fantastic. I stayed pretty healthy this last quarter. I did get sick. I got a cold once, and that was after a first little bit of travel because I work from home. I'm not around people a whole lot. I'm not totally surprised. I came back, had a cold, and but for the most part, I think I stayed pretty relatively healthy for my health and wellness. And I also recognize it's becoming more and more evident and more clear of what I need to do moving forward. And then the other thing that worked well is I know that I'm definitely ready for the next level in my business. I've started the business for a while, but I've kind of been playing in a certain area, and what has worked well has been fantastic, but now I need to scale up a bit. So I'm definitely ready for that. What didn't go well is it was a slow start to the year. I had some challenges emotionally. It was a slow transition. It took a lot longer for me to get going than I had initially intended or hoped. And so there's that. I'm still growing in my consistency. I talked about launching the podcast, but I haven't found my groove yet on what day, what time. So right now it's a little bit all over the place. So thank you to those who are following when it shows up. I know that you're going in and consuming the content. I am working on that. That was part of the reason why it took me so long to launch to begin with, because I was so afraid that I had to have it perfect the first time. And I was like, forget all that, just get it out there. There's some good stuff. And I'm really excited about some of the episodes that are coming up. I need to get them produced and get them ready to go. I have an email series, an email list that I'm working on, and I was hoping to get that going this last quarter. Didn't get that out. So that's something that didn't work well. And I had some tech issues. I had some pretty severe tech issues. This is the second time in 2 years I've had some things that have held me back. And so, which forces me to think about, okay, what do I need to have in place for when those things do occur? So those are things that didn't go well this last quarter. What am I going to focus on and what am I going to do differently? Well, I'm going to continue leaning into my coaching and my business coaching for growing my business. I'm going to keep working on my consistency. And defining what that is. So showing up here more often. I kind of have been away for a while, coming back 2 to 3 times a week, getting that email list. So if you want to sign up, the first thing that I'm going to be sending out is a series on how to declutter your calendar, how to do that, and then what you need to fill that space in for. And so I'll try and drop a link in below. And so you can sign up for that email list. And when that comes out, you'll be the first. And you'll also get updates on what's coming up on the podcast and things like that. And with that, because it's a declutter your calendar and working and with honoring your time, I'm going to be focusing a lot more that I'm doing that better. So honoring the time that is set on my calendar, because just like you, sometimes things come up, things that I set aside for myself, and it can be so tempting and so easy to move and shift those things. So working on that. And then my target is to double my Q1 revenue. So that's going to be my target for this quarter. And finally, I need to start thinking about hiring an assistant, which means that I need to start thinking about writing down my SOPs, my standard operating procedures, so that when I do bring someone on board, I know exactly what I'm going to have them do, and they're just not waiting on me. I don't become a bottleneck in my own business, so I can give them some of the processes that I have in place. I won't be hiring this quarter, but by the end of the year, that's something I definitely want to put into place, because there's some other things that I have going on that I want to be starting by the end of the year. So again, super simple. If you have, take 10 or 15 minutes to look at the goals that you set out for yourself for the year. Where are you? What are you measuring? What are you looking at? And that's going to help you to figure out, well, where do I need to be spending my time right now? For my clients, we talk about what kind of leader do you want to be? What are some of the strategic things that you're working on? It's very hard to do that if you're only stuck in the day-to-day. So take that time to think about, what am I going for in the future? How am I measuring against that? And what adjustments do I need to make? So that's just a quick way. When I talked about that on the podcast, is an example of it. I've got work to do, and I'll come back and we'll see how I did in July, how I fared out for this quarter. All right, guys, I'll see you later. Bye.